The vast expanse of space unfurled before the observation deck of SIS Athena. Captain Rax Torin stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the blue-green orb of Earth grew larger in the view screen. It had been nearly 15 years since he'd last seen his home planet, if he could still call it that. His life belonged to the Interstellar Survey Consortium now, cataloging and assessing M-class planets across the galaxy according to the Alliance's stringent atmospheric standards. "Approaching optimal scanning orbit, Captain," Lieutenant Jara Vex announced from her station. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, adjusting their trajectory with practiced precision. "Excellent," Rax replied, his voice betraying no emotion. "Inform Dr. Moreno that we'll be initiating AirScan X-12 protocols in 20 minutes." As Vex relayed the message, Rax allowed himself a moment of reflection. The year 2472 marked humanity's third century among the stars. Earth had endured climate catastrophes, industrial pollution, and the near collapse of its ecosystem. Yet somehow, against all odds, people had survived. Reports indicated functioning communities in several regions, including New Aurora in what was once called North America. But sentiment had no place in a survey mission. The Alliance protocols were clear: scan and report. No exceptions, no interpretations, just data. The door to the bridge hissed open, and Dr. Lena Moreno strode in, her dark hair pulled back in a tight knot. As the Athena's atmospheric scientist, she would be responsible for decoding the scan data and making recommendations to ISS Central. "Captain," she nodded briskly. "AirScan X-12 is calibrated and ready. We should have a comprehensive atmospheric profile within 2 hours of initiation." "Very good," Rax replied. "Let's proceed according to protocol." Lena raised an eyebrow. "You know, this is a historic moment. Earth hasn't undergone a formal atmospheric assessment in over 70 years. All the more reason to maintain objectivity," Rax countered. A slight smile played at the corner of Lena's mouth. "Of course, Captain. Objectivity above all." As they gazed at the view screen, Earth rotated slowly before them, blue oceans interspersed with land masses, showing patches of green and brown. From orbit, it looked almost pristine, as if the centuries of human industry had never happened. But appearances could be deceiving. The AirScan X-12 would reveal the truth, molecule by molecule. "Initiating scan," Lena announced, activating the sequence from her console. Invisible beams emanated from the Athena's specialized equipment, penetrating Earth's atmosphere at multiple points. Readings flooded into the ship's databanks: oxygen levels, nitrogen balance, trace gases, particulate matter, organic compounds, radiation signatures. Every aspect of the planet's breathable envelope would be cataloged, compared against Alliance standards, and graded. Lena watched the incoming data with professional interest. This mission was more than routine for her. It was personal. As a third-generation Earther born in orbit, she had never set foot on the planet her grandparents had called home. This mission was her first opportunity to see it up close, to understand if the recovery programs had succeeded. 2 hours later, as predicted, the AirScan X-12 completed its analysis. Lena's fingers moved deftly across her console, organizing the data into readable formats. "Scan complete, Captain," she announced. "I'll begin analysis immediately. We should have preliminary results within—" Her voice trailed off as she examined the first batch of readings. "Is there a problem, Doctor?" Rax inquired, noticing her furrowed brow. Lena frowned. "These oxygen and nitrogen levels, they're within human tolerance ranges, but they don't meet Alliance sustainability standards. And there are several organic compounds I can't immediately identify." Rax moved to look over her shoulder. "Significance?" "I'll need time to process the complete data set," Lena replied, already immersed in the figures scrolling across her screen. Before she could elaborate further, Lieutenant Vex called out, "Captain, incoming transmission from Alliance Tower. Priority Alpha." Rax straightened. "On screen," The face of High Commander Alex appeared, stern and imposing against the backdrop of ISS Central's command center. Captain Torin, I've received your preliminary atmospheric scan. The results are concerning. We've only just begun our analysis, Commander, Rax replied cautiously. Our remote processing team has already completed theirs, Elix countered. Earth's atmosphere fails to meet Section 7 sustainability requirements under Mabiotic standard classifications. You are hereby ordered to cease all communications with Earth's population and issue an uninhabitable declaration. Lena looked up sharply. Commander, with all due respect, we've barely scratched the surface of this data. The atmospheric composition shows anomalies that warrant deeper investigation. Commander Alex's expression hardened. Dr. Moreno, the AirScan X-12 is the standard by which all M-class planets are judged. Its results are definitive. But, furthermore, Alex continued, as if she hadn't spoken. You are ordered to initiate Directive 9T preparation protocols. The Alliance Council has determined that Earth's atmosphere requires purification intervention. Rax's face remained impassive, but his shoulders tensed. Directive 9T, the Atmospheric Purge Protocol, was a drastic measure, designed to cleanse planets with irreparably damaged atmospheres. It would essentially reset Earth's air composition through a controlled process that would eliminate all existing organic particulates and anything breathing them. Acknowledged, Commander, Rax responded formally. We'll proceed as instructed. When the transmission ended, Lena turned to him, incredulous. Captain, you can't seriously be considering this. Directive 9T would be catastrophic for the current population. The Alliance standards exist for a reason, Doctor, Rax replied, though his voice lacked conviction. If Earth's atmosphere has degraded beyond acceptable parameters. The parameters are arbitrary, Lena exclaimed. They were designed for pristine environments, not planets recovering from near collapse. Humans are clearly surviving down there despite the atmospheric conditions. According to reports, Rax countered. We haven't confirmed that with our own observations. Lena seized on his words. Exactly my point. We need a mission extension to investigate on the ground before making such a drastic decision. Rax hesitated. Protocol dictated immediate compliance with Alliance directives. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The scan results seemed incongruous with the visible signs of recovery on the planet's surface. Request denied, he said finally. We have our orders, Dr. Moreno. Lena's eyes flashed with determination. Like the orders on Terrakion, the Alliance purified that atmosphere based on AirScan results, and the entire ecosystem collapsed afterward. That was different, Rax insisted, though the parallel made him uncomfortable. Was it? Lena challenged. Or did we miss crucial adaptive factors because we relied solely on instrument readings instead of direct observation? Their argument hung in the air between them, unresolved and tense. But Lena knew she couldn't win this battle through confrontation alone. She needed evidence, irrefutable proof that Earth's atmospheric conditions, while not ideal, were compatible with sustainable human life. And to get that evidence, she would need to go planetside, with or without the captain's approval. Later that night, in the privacy of her quarters, Lena established a secure communication with Serena Hayes, an environmental specialist with the Earth Restoration Alliance. The connection was risky. Unauthorized contact with Earth's population before official assessment was complete violated at least 3 Alliance protocols. But Lena couldn't stand by while bureaucracy condemned an entire planet. The situation is critical, Lena explained after introductions. The Alliance is preparing to declare Earth uninhabitable based on atmospheric scans alone. Serena's face, framed by short auburn hair, registered shock. That's absurd. We have thriving communities across 3 continents. New Aurora alone has over 50,000 residents, all breathing just fine. The AirScan X-12 detected compounds that don't align with Alliance standards. Lena replied, I need to see for myself what's happening on the ground, how people are adapting, what measures you've implemented. Serena's expression grew serious. You're talking about coming down here? Against orders? I'm talking about saving Earth from a purification protocol that would essentially sterilize your atmosphere. After a long pause, Serena nodded. I can arrange for you to visit our green district. It showcases our best adaptive technologies, space gardens, advanced water filtration, and microbial control research facilities. Perfect. I'll find a way down within the next 24 hours. Send coordinates for a discrete landing site. As the communication ended, Lena turned to find Lieutenant Jara Vex standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable. How long have you been there? Lena asked, tensing. Long enough, Vex replied quietly. You realize this could end your career. Lena sighed. Some things are more important than careers, Lieutenant. To her surprise, Vex stepped forward. I agree. That's why I'm going to help you. Why would you risk that? My grandparents died on Terrakion after the purification disaster, Vex said simply. I won't let that happen again, especially not to Earth. With Vex's assistance, Lena devised a plan to take one of the ship's small survey shuttles, the Echo probe, down to New Aurora under the guise of collecting atmospheric samples at lower altitudes. It wasn't entirely unauthorized. Such collections were standard procedure, though typically performed by automated drones rather than manned craft. Captain Rax, meanwhile, was wrestling with his own doubts. The Alliance's swift decision to implement Directive 9T troubled him more than he cared to admit. 20 years of service had taught him that the galaxy's governing body rarely moved so decisively without political motivations. He found himself reviewing historical data on Earth's recovery efforts. After the climate wars of the 2100s and the industrial collapse that followed, humanity had nearly lost its homeworld. Yet somehow, they had clawed their way back from the brink, developing sustainable technologies, reclaiming polluted lands, and rebuilding communities in harmony with what remained of the natural environment. Was it right to erase all that progress based on a single atmospheric scan? His reflections were interrupted by an alert from the ship's systems. An unauthorized shuttle launch was being prepared. It didn't take a genius to guess who was behind it. Lieutenant Vex, he called over the intercom. Report to the bridge immediately. When Vex arrived, her guilty expression confirmed his suspicions. Dr. Moreno is planning an unauthorized planetfall, isn't she? He demanded, without preamble. Vex hesitated, then straightened her shoulders. Yes, Captain. She believes it's necessary to collect first-hand evidence before the Alliance implements Directive 9T. And you agree with her assessment? I do, sir. The AirScan results don't account for adaptive biological responses. Without ground observation, we're making a potentially catastrophic decision based on incomplete data. Rax paced the bridge, weighing his options. Protocol demanded he stop Lena's mission and report the insubordination. But something deeper, a sense of justice, perhaps, or a long-dormant connection to the planet below, urged him to reconsider. Tell Dr. Moreno I want to see her in the shuttle bay, he said finally. Immediately. When Lena arrived at the shuttle bay, she found Rax standing before the Echo probe, his expression inscrutable. Captain, I can explain, she began. Save it, he interrupted. You're violating direct orders from Alliance Tower and risking your commission. Lena lifted her chin defiantly. I'm doing what's necessary to prevent a grave injustice. And you believe sneaking down to the surface in a survey shuttle will somehow change the Alliance's decision? I believe evidence matters, she replied firmly. The people of Earth deserve more than a remote assessment before their atmosphere is deemed unfit for habitation. Rax studied her for a long moment, then sighed. You'll need an authorization code to clear the atmospheric defenses around New Aurora. Lena blinked in surprise. You're letting me go? I'm coming with you, he corrected. If we're going to break protocol, we might as well do it properly. 2 hours later, the Echo probe descended through Earth's upper atmosphere, its heat shields glowing as friction built around the small craft. Lena monitored the external sensors, recording atmospheric compositions at each layer they passed through. Oxygen levels increased significantly below the stratosphere, she noted. Nitrogen balance is well within human tolerance range. Rax, piloting the craft with practiced ease, nodded. But what about those organic compounds the air scan detected? We'll know more once we're on the ground. New Aurora appeared on the horizon, a sprawling city of curved structures and vertical gardens. Solar arrays gleamed in the morning sun, while wind turbines dotted the surrounding hillsides. It wasn't the pristine metropolis of pre-collapse Earth, but it was far from the dystopian wasteland that many in the Alliance imagined. They landed in a secluded clearing, several kilometers from the city center, where Serena Hayes waited with a ground transport vehicle. "Welcome to Earth," she greeted them as they disembarked, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of Rax in his captain's uniform. "I wasn't expecting company." "Captain Torin decided to join our fact-finding mission," Lena explained diplomatically. Serena eyed him warily. "And can the captain be trusted not to report directly to the Alliance before we've had a chance to show you what you came to see?" "I'm here to observe and evaluate," Rax replied evenly. "Nothing more, nothing less." "Fair enough," Serena conceded. "Let's go. The Green District is about 30 minutes from here." As they traveled, Lena and Rax experienced Earth's atmosphere directly for the first time. The air was thinner than the precisely calibrated mix aboard the Athena, with subtle notes of vegetation, soil, and a faint metallic tinge that hinted at industrial processes nearby. "How do you find our air, Captain?" Serena asked, noting his deep inhalations. "Different," he admitted, "but not unpleasant." "That's the remarkable thing about humans," she replied. "We adapt. The atmosphere has changed over the centuries, but so have we." The Green District emerged beyond a ridge, a vibrant sector of New Aurora dedicated to environmental innovation. Transparent domes housed experimental gardens, where plants grew in spiral patterns to maximize space. Water reclamation facilities processed precipitation and runoff, returning clean water to the community. Research buildings hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked to improve the city's ecological footprint. But what struck Lena most were the people. Children played in open areas, breathing normally. Construction workers labored on a new skylight farming installation, calling to each other across the scaffolding. Elderly residents sat in a small park, enjoying the morning sun without respiratory assistance. "These people aren't struggling to breathe," Lena observed. "According to the air scan results, they should be experiencing respiratory distress at minimum." "Which is exactly my point," Serena replied. "Your scans don't account for human adaptation or our environmental modifications." She led them to a laboratory where glass containers held samples of local soil, water, and air. Under a microscope, Serena revealed the source of the mysterious organic compounds that had triggered the Alliance's concern. "These are specialized microorganisms," she explained, highlighting tiny cellular structures on the display. "We call them atmospheric assistants. They process pollutants and help maintain oxygen balance." "Engineered biology?" Rax asked, his brow furrowing. "Initially, yes. The ERA developed them to help cleanse the atmosphere after the industrial collapse. But they've evolved over generations, becoming an integral part of Earth's new ecological balance." Lena leaned closer to the display. "The air scan would have detected these as anomalous organic compounds, but wouldn't have identified their beneficial function." "And there's more," Serena added, leading them to another section of the lab, where a large, transparent chamber contained a vibrant plant with unusual leaf patterns. "This is breatheleaf," she said with evident pride. "A genetically modified flora that absorbs toxic gases and produces amplified oxygen. We've planted thousands of them throughout New Aurora and other recovery zones. Lena examined the plant with growing excitement. This could explain the unusual oxygen fluctuations in the scan data. The air scan detected the enhanced output, but categorized it as atmospheric instability, rather than a managed ecosystem feature. Rax remained skeptical. Impressive adaptations. But Alliance protocols exist for a reason. How can we be certain these modifications are sustainable long-term? Because they've already sustained us for over a century, Serena replied firmly. New Aurora isn't perfect, but we're thriving, not merely surviving. As they continued their tour, Lena collected air samples and data readings that increasingly contradicted the air scan's conclusions. The levels of CO2, SO2, and other potentially harmful gases were indeed higher than Alliance standards permitted, but they were balanced by the adaptive technologies and biological interventions Serena had shown them. Most compelling was the simple evidence before their eyes. People living normal, healthy lives despite atmospheric conditions the Alliance had deemed uninhabitable. Back aboard the Echo probe, Lena prepared a preliminary report based on their findings. The data is clear, she told Rax as they prepared for the return journey. Earth's atmosphere doesn't meet pristine classification standards, but it absolutely supports sustainable human habitation. The air scan results need to be reinterpreted in light of the adaptive ecosystem we've observed. Rax studied her report, his expression troubled. The Alliance isn't known for its flexibility. Dr. Moreno, Directive 9T has already been approved at the highest levels. Then we need to appeal directly to the Scientific Council, Lena insisted. Chief Scientist Quinn has the authority to recommend a reassessment. And if they refuse? Lena's expression hardened. Then we keep fighting. Earth deserves a chance. When they returned to the Athena, they found Lieutenant Vex waiting with alarming news. Alliance Tower has accelerated the timeline, she reported urgently. They're initiating preliminary A-purge protocols within 24 hours. Once the atmospheric stabilizers are deployed, the full purification sequence will be irreversible. Why the sudden rush? Rax demanded. Resources have already been allocated, Vex explained. The purification fleet is assembled and awaiting final authorization. Lena felt cold dread settle in her stomach. They never intended to give Earth a fair assessment. This was decided before we even arrived. I need to think, Rax said, retreating to his quarters. Left alone, Lena and Vex began organizing the evidence they'd collected, preparing for a desperate appeal to the Scientific Council. But both knew that bureaucratic processes moved slowly, while Directive 9T's implementation was accelerating by the hour. We need more time, Lena muttered, pacing the laboratory. Vex looked up from her console. There might be a way. What if we created interference in the command protocols? Nothing permanent. Just enough to delay the initialization sequence. You're suggesting we sabotage Alliance communications? Lena asked incredulously. I'm suggesting we buy Earth the time it deserves, Vex replied firmly. Meanwhile, Rax sat in his quarters, reviewing his service record. 20 years of impeccable compliance with Alliance directives. 20 years of believing in a system that valued order and standardization above all else. But his visit to New Aurora had shaken that belief. The people he'd seen weren't struggling against an uninhabitable environment. They were thriving through adaptation and innovation. To erase their accomplishments based on rigid atmospheric standards seemed not just unjust, but cruel. A memory surfaced from his childhood, a forgotten trauma he'd buried beneath years of disciplined service. The acid storm that had swept through his hometown when he was just 7 years old, before human ingenuity had developed environmental remediation technologies. The burning rain, the gasping for breath, the evacuation ships that came too late for too many. He had survived. Earth had survived. And in the centuries since, humanity had not only endured, but had found ways to heal their damaged world. Did they not deserve the chance to complete that healing? His decision made, Rax returned to the bridge. Lieutenant Vex, open a channel to ISS Central. I want to speak directly with Chief Scientist Quinn. Sir? Vex questioned, surprised by his sudden assertiveness. Do it, he ordered. And Dr. Moreno, prepare your findings for presentation. We're going to fight this. The communication with ISS Central proved more difficult than anticipated. Lower-level functionaries blocked their access to the Scientific Council, citing protocol and chain of command. Hours passed as they navigated the bureaucratic maze, precious time slipping away as the purification timeline advanced. This isn't working, Lena said finally. We need to go back to Earth. Show them what's really happening. And do what? Rax challenged. Storm the Alliance Tower with a handful of atmospheric samples? No, she replied, a determined gleam in her eye. We bring the evidence to them in a way they can't ignore. The plan they devised was audacious and dangerous. Using the Echo probe, they would return to New Aurora and collect not just data, but witnesses, people whose very existence defied the uninhabitable classification. Serena would help them document the adaptive technologies and biological innovations that made life possible in Earth's modified atmosphere. But before they could launch, an alarm sounded throughout the ship. A-purge initialization detected, the computer announced. Atmospheric stabilizers deploying in T-6 hours. They've started the sequence, Vex said, her voice tight with urgency. Once those stabilizers are in position, the purification will proceed automatically. Rax made his decision. Prepare the Echo probe for immediate launch. We're going back to Earth, to the Midland Preserve this time. Why there? Lena asked. Because it's a wildlife conservation area, he explained. If we can demonstrate that native Earth species are thriving in the current atmosphere, it strengthens our case for adaptive capability. As they prepared to depart, a transmission from Alliance Tower interrupted their preparations. Commander Elix's stern visage appeared on the main view screen. Captain Torin, we've detected unauthorized shuttle activity and irregular communication patterns from your vessel. Explain yourself. Rax straightened, facing the commander directly. We've conducted a ground assessment of Earth's atmospheric conditions and found discrepancies with the air scan results. We're preparing a comprehensive report for the Scientific Council. You were ordered to cease all planet-side investigations, Elix reminded him coldly. Your duty was to issue the Uninhabitable Declaration and prepare for Directive 9T implementation. With respect, Commander, I believe Directive 9T is a grave error in this case. Earth's population has developed adaptive technologies that the air scan failed to account for. Elix's expression hardened. You are hereby relieved of command. Captain Torin, Lieutenant Vex, assume control of the Athena and confine both Captain Torin and Dr. Moreno to quarters pending disciplinary action. But Vex made no move to comply. Instead, she stood firmly beside Rax. I cannot in good conscience follow that order. Commander, the evidence we've gathered supports Captain Torin's assessment. This is mutiny, Elix warned. The consequences will be severe. The consequences of wrongfully condemning Earth will be far worse, Rax replied evenly. We're proceeding with our investigation. He cut the transmission before Elix could respond, knowing that reinforcements would likely be dispatched immediately. We have hours at most before they send a compliance team, he told Lena and Vex. Let's make them count. The Echo probe descended toward Earth once more, this time heading for the sprawling wilderness of Midland Preserve. Serena met them at the landing site, accompanied by a team of ERA researchers and local community members. The A-purge has begun, Lena explained as they disembarked. We need to document everything: air quality, wildlife adaptation, human habitation patterns. Anything that demonstrates Earth's atmosphere supports complex life despite its deviations from Alliance standards. They spread out across the preserve, collecting samples and recording video evidence. Deer bounded through clearings, birds soared overhead, Insects buzzed among vibrant wildflowers. In a small settlement at the preserve's edge, children played while elders tended gardens, growing beneath specialized light filters. Most impressive was a grove of breatheleaf plants that had been integrated into the natural forest. The modified flora had cross-pollinated with native species, creating a hybrid ecosystem that efficiently processed atmospheric toxins while producing enhanced oxygen. "This is the future of Earth," Serena explained, gesturing to the thriving intersection of engineered and natural biology. Not pristine restoration to some pre-industrial ideal, but adaptive evolution, using technology to enhance nature's resilience rather than replacing it. Lena meticulously documented everything, building a compelling case for Earth's reclassification. But time was running out. The A-purge stabilizers would soon be in position, and once activated, they would begin the irreversible process of atmospheric reconfiguration. Their work was interrupted by the arrival of a second shuttle, an Alliance enforcement vessel dispatched from a nearby outpost. Armed officers disembarked, led by a stern-faced commander. "Captain Rax Torin," the leader called out. "By order of Alliance Tower, you and your associates are to cease all activities and surrender yourselves for immediate return to ISS Central." Rax stepped forward, positioning himself between the enforcement team and the others. "We're conducting vital research that challenges the basis for Directive 9T. If you review our findings, our orders are to secure your compliance, not review your research," the commander interrupted. "The A-purge initialization is proceeding as scheduled." Serena moved to stand beside Rax. "Do you understand what the purification protocol will do to our planet? To our people? You're condemning an entire civilization based on an atmospheric scan that failed to account for human adaptation." "I have my orders," the commander replied, though uncertainty flickered across his face. "Sometimes orders are wrong," Lena interjected, joining them. "Look around you. Is this an uninhabitable environment?" The standoff grew tense as more local residents emerged from the settlement, drawn by the confrontation. They stood quietly behind Serena, living testimony to Earth's habitability. "The A-purge must be stopped," Rax insisted. "At least until a full review can be conducted by the Scientific Council." The commander hesitated, visibly conflicted. "I don't have the authority to countermand Directive 9T." "But I do," came a new voice. All eyes turned to see a holographic projection materializing nearby. The distinguished figure of Chief Scientist Vardar Quinn, his expression grave. "We've been monitoring this situation," Quinn explained. "Dr. Moreno's preliminary data was flagged by our systems, triggering a secondary review protocol." "Chief Scientist," Rax acknowledged, surprised by the intervention. "The A-purge stabilizers are already deploying. There's little time left to halt the sequence." "I'm aware," Quinn replied, "which is why I've already issued a temporary stay on Directive 9T implementation, pending Emergency Council review." Relief washed over Lena, but she remained cautious. "The evidence we've gathered clearly demonstrates that Earth's atmosphere, while not meeting pristine classification standards, supports a thriving, adaptive biosphere." "So it would seem," Quinn agreed. "The question before the Council now is whether our standards for habitability should prioritize pristine conditions or adaptive capabilities." The enforcement commander, recognizing the shift in authority, ordered his team to stand down. Over the next several hours, Lena, Rax, and Serena presented their findings directly to the Scientific Council through Quinn's secure channel. They showed footage of the Midland Preserve ecosystem, demonstrated the effectiveness of breatheleaf technology, and presented atmospheric samples that revealed the complex interplay between engineered microorganisms and natural air components. Most compelling were the testimonies of local residents, from children to elders, who had lived their entire lives breathing Earth's modified atmosphere without adverse effects. "What we're witnessing is not a failed planet," Lena argued in her summary, "but a successful adaptation. Humans have evolved alongside their environment, developing technologies and biological interventions that compensate for atmospheric changes rather than reversing them completely. The Council deliberated while the A-purge stabilizers remained in standby mode, poised to begin their irreversible work at a moment's notice. Finally, Chief Scientist Quinn delivered their verdict. After reviewing the evidence presented by Dr. Moreno and Captain Torin, the Scientific Council has determined that Earth's classification requires amendment. While the planet does not meet Class A mabiotic standard for atmospheric composition, it clearly qualifies as a Class B adaptive biosphere. He paused, allowing the significance of the reclassification to sink in. Therefore, Directive 9T is hereby rescinded and replaced with Directive 9R, Restore and Regulate. The Alliance will provide technological assistance to further enhance Earth's atmospheric remediation efforts, including sharing advanced filtration technologies and supporting the global implementation of Breathe-Leaf satellite networks. The announcement was met with cheers from the gathered Earth residents. Serena embraced Lena, while Rax stood quietly, a mixture of relief and vindication washing over him. "Thank you, Chief Scientist," he said formally. "The Council has made the right decision." Quinn's holographic image nodded. "Perhaps. But more importantly, it has made a just one. The Alliance was founded on principles of cooperation and advancement, not rigid adherence to arbitrary standards. Your willingness to challenge those standards when evidence warranted has reminded us of that foundation." As the projection faded, Rax turned to find Lena watching him with newfound respect. "You risked everything," she observed. "Your career, your standing with the Alliance. Why?" Rax gazed across the Midland Preserve, where children were already returning to their interrupted games, unconcerned by the cosmic bureaucracy that had nearly ended their world. "Because Earth deserves the chance to heal on its own terms," he replied simply. "Just as I did. All those years ago." In the days that followed, the A-purge stabilizers were reprogrammed to serve as atmospheric monitors rather than purification instruments. Scientists from ISS Central arrived to study Earth's adaptive technologies, particularly the Breathe-Leaf innovations that had proved so effective at atmospheric remediation. A formal ceremony marked the beginning of the new cooperation between Earth and the Alliance. In the heart of Midland Preserve, Lena, Rax, and Serena planted the first of a new generation of Breathe-Leaf specimens, enhanced with Alliance biotechnology to accelerate their purification capabilities. Local children danced around the planting site, their laughter a testament to the future they would now have. Researchers from both worlds exchanged knowledge, laying the groundwork for a collaborative approach to Earth's ongoing recovery. Rax, standing somewhat apart from the celebration, composed his personal report to Alliance Tower. After much consideration, he wrote simply, "Earth deserves time and opportunity. Its people have demonstrated that adaptation, not perfection, is the true measure of habitability." Later, aboard the Athena in orbit above the blue-green planet, Rax and Lena stood at the observation deck once more. Earth rotated slowly beneath them, patches of green more visible now that they knew what to look for. The sprawling Midland Preserve, the vibrant expanse of New Aurora, and countless other communities working to restore their world. "What happens now?" Lena asked quietly. "Earth continues its recovery, with Alliance support rather than interference," Rax replied. "And we continue our mission with a broader perspective on what makes a planet truly habitable." "And the AirScan X-12 protocols?" "Being revised as we speak. Chief Scientist Quinn has ordered a complete overhaul of atmospheric assessment standards to include adaptive capacity alongside baseline composition requirements." Lena smiled. "A small victory for scientific flexibility." "And a larger one for Earth," Rax added, a rare smile crossing his features. As the Athena prepared to depart for its next assignment, a final message appeared on the main view screen. A new classification for Earth in the Alliance database. "Adaptive planet. Protect first. Decide later." It wasn't just a designation for Earth, Lena realized. It was a new philosophy for the Alliance itself, one that prioritized observation and understanding over rigid categorization, one that recognized the remarkable resilience of life in all its adaptable forms. And as the ship accelerated away from Earth's orbit, she knew that they had not just saved a planet. They had changed a galaxy's perception of what it meant to call a world home. In the vast cosmic bureaucracy of the Alliance, one small notation might easily be overlooked. But to the billions living and breathing on the blue-green planet below, it meant everything. Earth, habitable, adaptive, alive. The story of Earth's near purification spread quickly throughout the Alliance, prompting a re-evaluation of atmospheric assessment protocols across dozens of surveyed worlds. Planets previously classified as marginally habitable or slated for purification were granted extended evaluation periods, with special attention paid to adaptive biological responses. For Lena, the mission had transformed her understanding of her ancestral home. Earth wasn't just a historical curiosity or a failed experiment in planetary stewardship. It was a testament to human ingenuity and nature's remarkable flexibility. She found herself returning frequently over the following months, working closely with Serena and the ERA to document Earth's unique atmospheric adaptations for inclusion in Alliance scientific archives. The Breathe Leaf network has expanded to cover 17% of former industrial zones. Serena reported during one such visit, showing Lena a holographic map of global implementation. Oxygen production is up 12%, and particulate pollution has decreased by nearly 20%. Impressive progress, Lena acknowledged. The Alliance botanists are fascinated by the cross-pollination effects you've achieved with native species. They stood on a hillside overlooking New Aurora, where construction crews were installing new skylight farming structures, transparent domes that captured sunlight for agricultural use, while filtering atmospheric toxins. The city had become a model for human-environment cooperation, hosting delegations from other recovering regions eager to implement similar technologies. None of this would have happened under Directive 9T, Serena observed quietly. We'd have lost everything. But you didn't, Lena reminded her. Earth proved itself worthy of protection. Captain Rax Torren's career had taken an unexpected turn as well. Rather than facing disciplinary action for his defiance of Alliance Tower, he had been reassigned to head a new division within the Interstellar Survey Consortium, the Adaptive Environments Assessment Team. His mandate was to develop more nuanced approaches to planetary evaluation, incorporating direct observation alongside instrumental analysis. The universe rarely fits our neat classifications, he told a gathering of survey captains during a training session. Our job is not merely to measure and categorize, but to understand. His experience on Earth had fundamentally altered his perspective on the Alliance's role in galactic development. Standardization had its place, but so did diversity, of environments, of adaptations, of solutions to planetary challenges. Even Commander Elix, initially furious at the circumvention of his authority, had come to recognize the validity of the Scientific Council's decision. The data couldn't be denied. Earth's atmosphere, while not meeting pristine standards, clearly supported a thriving biosphere through adaptive technologies and biological innovations. Perhaps, he admitted grudgingly during a review session, our assessment protocols have been overly rigid. Chief Scientist Quinn took this admission as an opportunity to propose comprehensive reforms to the Alliance's planetary classification system. We must distinguish between uninhabitable environments and those requiring adaptive approaches, he argued before the full council. Earth has shown us that habitability exists on a spectrum, not as a binary state. His proposals gained widespread support, particularly from representatives of planets with their own atmospheric challenges. The Laconis delegation, whose homeworld struggled with excessive radiation, and the Borlax prime contingent, whose methane-rich atmosphere had required generations of biological adaptation, became vocal advocates for the new approach. Back on Earth, the everyday miracle of human resilience continued to unfold. In Midland Preserve, the hybrid breatheleaf forest flourished, creating a microclimate of exceptional air quality that attracted both wildlife and human visitors. Children from New Aurora came on educational expeditions, learning how their ancestors had nearly destroyed the planet, and how innovation and adaptation had saved it. "The air tastes different here," one young girl observed, standing among the gently swaying breatheleaf plants. "It's sweeter." "That's because these plants are special," her teacher explained. "They clean the air for us, just like our lungs clean the air for our bodies." The child considered this thoughtfully. "So they're like the Earth's lungs?" "Exactly," the teacher nodded. "And we're helping the Earth breathe better every day." This simple exchange, witnessed by Lena during one of her research visits, encapsulated everything she had fought for. Not a perfect world returned to some mythical pristine state, but a dynamic partnership between humans and their environment, each adapting to the other, finding balance in transformation rather than restoration. The Alliance, too, was adapting. Survey missions now included mandatory surface exploration components for any planet showing signs of intelligent habitation, regardless of atmospheric composition. Air scan results were treated as preliminary data points rather than definitive assessments, with final classifications requiring multiple lines of evidence. "We've learned humility," Quinn noted during the first anniversary commemoration of Earth's reclassification. "The most sophisticated instruments cannot replace direct observation and open-minded inquiry." For Serena and the ERA, the infusion of Alliance technology accelerated their atmospheric remediation efforts exponentially. Satellite-based purification arrays supplemented the ground-level breatheleaf networks, creating a multi-layered approach to air quality management. Within 5 years, Earth's atmosphere showed measurable improvement across all relevant metrics, though it remained distinct from its pre-industrial composition. "We're not trying to turn back time," Serena explained to a visiting Alliance delegation. "We're creating a new environmental balance that accommodates both human needs and planetary health." This philosophy of adaptive harmony, rather than rigid restoration, spread throughout human settlements worldwide. Communities developed localized solutions based on their specific environmental challenges: floating gardens in coastal regions, subterranean air purification systems in former industrial zones, high-altitude wind filters in mountainous areas. Each innovation built upon the fundamental insight that had saved Earth from purification. Life adapts, and human ingenuity can enhance that adaptation rather than working against it. Captain Rax, during a rare moment of reflection, found himself revisiting the memory that had influenced his fateful decision aboard the Athena. The acid storm of his childhood had been traumatic, yes, but it had also taught him a crucial lesson about survival and resilience. Earth hadn't given up when its atmosphere turned hostile. Instead, its inhabitants had developed new ways to live within changed conditions. "Perhaps that's the true measure of an advanced civilization," he mused to Lena during a briefing at ISS Central. "Not its ability to reshape environments to suit predetermined standards, but its capacity to evolve alongside those environments, to find harmony in adaptation rather than domination." Lena, now heading her own research division focused on atmospheric microbiology, nodded in agreement. The AirScan X12 could measure chemical compositions with perfect accuracy, but it couldn't quantify adaptation potential or resilience factors. "Which is why we now include those assessments in every survey," Rax noted with satisfaction. The ripple effects of Earth's case extended beyond methodological changes within the Alliance. Philosophical discussions about the nature of habitability and the rights of adaptive civilizations gained prominence in academic and political circles throughout the galaxy. If Earth's population had been wrongfully judged by standards that failed to account for their adaptive capabilities, how many other worlds might have suffered similar misclassifications? A comprehensive review of purification candidates revealed several planets where native species had developed remarkable adaptations to changing atmospheric conditions, innovations that might have been lost forever under previous protocols. "Every world tells its own story of survival" became the unofficial motto of the reformed survey consortium. Our job is to listen before we judge. For the children of New Aurora and countless other Earth communities, these grand philosophical shifts meant something much simpler: a future. The dark shadow of Directive 9T had passed, replaced by the bright promise of continued existence on their home planet, not in spite of its atmospheric challenges, but in harmony with them. As Lena watched those children planting new breatheleaf seedlings during a community ceremony, she recalled the desperate hours aboard the Athena, when Earth's fate had hung in the balance. How close they had come to losing everything because of rigid adherence to standards that failed to recognize the most important quality of life itself: its endless capacity to adapt. "The air we breathe connects us all," Serena told the gathered families. "Each breath is a promise to care for this world that sustains us, to respect its changes while guiding its healing." Rax, standing at the edge of the gathering, inhaled deeply. The air of Earth, once deemed uninhabitable by the most advanced scanning technology in the galaxy, filled his lungs without difficulty. It carried the scent of breatheleaf plants, the earthy richness of soil, the faint sweetness of cleansing microorganisms doing their invisible work. It wasn't perfect by Alliance standards. It never would be. But it was alive, vibrantly, adaptively, persistently alive. And in the end, that was what mattered most. Not the pristine composition of a planet's atmosphere, but the thriving communities that breathed it, valued it, and worked to improve it day by day. Adaptive planet. Protect first, decide later. The classification that had once seemed like a compromise had become a philosophy, one that recognized the remarkable resilience of life in all its forms, and the obligation of advanced civilizations to protect that resilience, even when it manifested in ways that defied conventional standards. As the Athena departed Earth's orbit for the final time under Rax's command, he took one last look at the blue-green planet below. From space, it appeared much as it had when they first arrived: oceans and land masses, cloud patterns swirling across the surface, the thin envelope of atmosphere that had nearly been deemed unworthy of preservation. But now he saw it differently, not as a world to be measured against arbitrary standards, but as a living testament to adaptation and perseverance. A planet that had taught the galaxy a profound lesson about what it truly meant to be habitable. "Course set for Proxima Centauri system," Lieutenant Vex reported from her station. "New survey protocols loaded and ready." "Proceed, Lieutenant," Rax replied. "Let's see what adaptations await us there." As the ship accelerated into the vast darkness between stars, Earth receded behind them, not abandoned, but embraced as part of a greater understanding of life's endless capacity for renewal. They had scanned Earth's air and declared it uninhabitable. They had been wrong. And in acknowledging that error, they had discovered a greater truth: that life, in all its adaptive wonder, defies simple classification. It persists. It evolves. It finds a way. Just as Earth had done, against all odds and expectations. Just as it would continue to do, breathing its imperfect but life-sustaining air for centuries to come.